I still remember the day I met Marcus Wright. He walked into the office like he owned the place, because in many ways he did. As the vice president of operations for the city's pro basketball team, Marcus wasn't just powerful, he was respected. Everyone in the office admired him, but also kept their distance. He was tall, always dressed immaculately, and carried a quiet authority that made you straighten up a little when he walked by. I was his executive assistant, the one who managed his meetings, his travel, and if I'm being honest, a lot of the emotional weight he never showed others. My name is Rachel, and at the time, I had only been with the organization for 6 months. Fresh from a more corporate background, I wasn't used to the raw energy of a professional sports franchise. But Marcus made it manageable. He was fair, professional, and often surprisingly kind. Still, there was a wall he never let anyone scale, and I always respected that. It wasn't until I noticed how tired he looked one morning that I began to sense something was wrong. His eyes, usually sharp and attentive, had a dimness to them. He was later than usual, his coffee untouched, and he hadn't said more than a few words to me all day. I debated whether to say anything. I mean, who was I to get involved? But by 5 p.m., the rest of the office had cleared out, and I saw him sitting in his chair, staring out the window. I knocked gently on the doorframe. "Hey, do you need anything before I head out?" He looked over at me, his face softening slightly. "Actually, do you have a minute?" I nodded and stepped inside, shutting the door behind me. He exhaled, running a hand over his clean-shaven head. "I just finalized my divorce." The room fell silent. I wasn't expecting that, and I don't think he was expecting to say it aloud either. "I'm sorry," I said softly. "That must be a lot." He nodded, his eyes meeting mine.
"Yeah,
"It is." That night marked the start of a different chapter in our working relationship. He didn't overshare or cry or become a mess. But from that point on, he was more human around me. There were quiet sighs, moments of distractedness, and once in a while he would ask if I could stay late, not for work, but just to sit and talk. At first, I wasn't sure what to make of it. Marcus had always kept his private life separate, but I started to learn bits and pieces. He and his ex-wife, Nicole, had been together since college. She had stood by him through years of minor league coaching, assistant jobs, relocations. But success came with distance. Once he made it big, the job consumed him, and slowly, they lost each other. He never spoke poorly of her. That was something I noticed right away. No bitterness, no blame. Just sadness. And a kind of quiet guilt he carried in the way he hesitated before talking about her. One night, after a long meeting, we were both still in the office, and he offered to order food. We sat in the conference room, eating takeout Chinese, surrounded by framed jerseys and game photos. That night, he told me it was the first time in weeks he'd eaten with someone. "Don't you have friends here in the city?" I asked.
I do," he said.
"But you'd be surprised how quiet things get when you stop showing up to dinners as a couple." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. I wasn't here to fix him, but I could be there. And over the weeks that followed, that's exactly what I did. I started noticing little things. He left work a few minutes earlier. He smiled more. He asked about my life, something he hadn't really done before. I told him about my obsession with old movies and how I liked volunteering at animal shelters on weekends. He laughed when I showed him pictures of me trying to walk 3 dogs at once. One Friday afternoon, he asked if I had plans for the weekend. I said no, just errands and maybe a grocery run. "Would you be up for helping me move some things out of my old condo?" he asked. It felt like a big ask, but the look on his face wasn't professional. It was vulnerable. I said yes. That Saturday, I met him at the high-rise apartment where he used to live with Nicole. The place was beautiful, full of sleek furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows, but it felt like a museum, empty of warmth. As we packed boxes, he told me stories behind the objects. A souvenir from a trip to Paris. A vase his mother had given them. He didn't cry, but there was a heaviness in every word. At one point, he found an old photo album. He opened it slowly, flipping through pages, then closed it and handed it to me. "Would you mind putting this one in the donate pile?" I hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. I need to let go." That day changed everything. We weren't just boss and assistant anymore. We were people, leaning on each other in a world that often demanded too much and gave too little in return. Over the next few months, we kept things professional during the day, but after hours, we became friends. Sometimes we'd take walks near the stadium, talking about everything from music to regrets to second chances. Other times we'd sit in silence, just sharing space.
I think he needed that.
And if I'm honest, I think I did too. One night, after a particularly tough loss, he was frustrated. The team had made careless errors, and the media was going hard on his leadership. I stayed late again, bringing him tea, and just being there. He looked at me across the desk and said, "You ever feel like you're doing everything right and still losing?" "All the time," I replied. "But sometimes losing clears space for the right thing to find you." He smiled. "You're wiser than you look." "Hey." I laughed, throwing a paper clip at him. He caught it midair. Of course he did. I won't pretend we didn't grow closer. There was a pull between us, something unspoken but real. Still, we never crossed any lines. I respected him, and he respected me. Besides, he needed healing, not romance. And I wasn't about to confuse the two. Eventually, he started dating again. Casual, at first. A few awkward setups. Then someone he met at a charity event. He told me about her over coffee one morning. "She's nice," he said. "Grounded. It's different." I smiled. Good different.
Yeah.
But I think I'm scared to let someone in again. "That's normal," I said. "Just take your time." He looked at me with those deep brown eyes and said, "You've been a good friend to me, Rachel." I felt something tighten in my chest. "You've been one to me too, Marcus." He nodded, and we both went back to our laptops. Business as usual. But we both knew that something had shifted. Months passed. The team made the playoffs. Work got busy. He and the woman he was dating got more serious. I was happy for him.
Genuinely.
He deserved someone who saw the good in him, who would stand by him like I had, but in a way that didn't stay behind an office desk. Eventually, he promoted me. Not just because I earned it, though I had, but because he said he wanted me to be in a position where I could do more, lead more, and build something for myself. "I wouldn't have made it through that time without you," he said during my promotion meeting. "But you've got more in you than just holding others up." I teared up. "Thank you. That means more than you know."